Chapter 1405. Oh my God, why are you so daring? Sandy was so shocked that she jumped up, completely forgetting about Arnold. Her eyes reddened in an instant and she glared at Gu Meng Meng as if she was about to cry. She complained, "If anything happens to you, what do you want me to do in the future? I have 11 partners and 3 sons, but you are my only friend. Do you know how important you are to me? You actually dared to fall down without thinking." Gu Meng Meng, sobs, "If anything happens to you, I will never forgive you." Sandy had not cried for a long time. Ever since Oakley had plotted the stray beasts to attack Sauter and 5 of her partners had died that day, Sandy had never cried again. She grew up strong and quickly shouldered Gu Mingming's responsibilities as a mother, taking good care of Hede and Jiaoyu. If not for the fact that they did not have any wolf beasts in their family, everyone would have thought that Hede and Jiaoyu were Sandy's sons. And when she heard about Gu Mingming's reckless jumping off the cliff, her eyes reddened in an instant. Gu Mengmeng knew that Sandy would definitely turn hostile once she mentioned this matter. Other than Elvis and Leah, only Sandy would dare to scold her over this matter. Gu Mengmeng knew that she was in the wrong and she had always been helpless when it came to Sandy's tears, so she could only carefully and obediently coax her. "Good Sandy, don't cry. When you cry, even my heart will tremble. I was wrong, I was really wrong, I will never dare to do it again. Moreover, don't you see that I am standing in front of you in one piece? Not a single strand of hair is missing, really." Sandy wiped away her tears while sobbing. She tugged at Gu Mingming's arm and scrutinized her closely. She really wanted to count all her hair to see if she was missing a single strand. Seeing that she was indeed fine, she heaved a sigh of relief. But her heart still had lingering fears and her tears only stopped flowing after a long while. Leah and Elvis looked at Gu Mingming's cowardly look in front of Sandy and lowered their heads to chuckle. Originally, they were already feeling troubled over the Moda Mountains incident, but they could not bring themselves to do so in front of Gu Mengmeng. Now that there was Sandy, this troublesome vixen, to teach Gu Mengmeng a lesson, the two of them were happy and at ease. However, Sandy's partners, especially the newly mated 7 wolves, were suffering. This was the first time they had seen Sandy cry. They immediately panicked. They wanted to go up and coax her, but the queen was sitting there, occupying the position, and they couldn't do anything. What's more, the Wolf King had an expression that said, "Whoever dares to come over will be crushed to death." They were really helpless. Bode patted Hodgson's shoulder and said, "Don't panic. At times like this, she has more ways than us." Hodgson smiled awkwardly. He remembered the first day after mating, when a row of new partners thanked the queen for not being male. "Gu Mengmeng, tell me, will you still dare to be rash in the future?" Sandy's nose was red as she asked Gu Mengmeng while sniffling. Gu Mengmeng hurriedly shook her head and held Sandy's chubby little hands with both hands. I won't dare to do it again. Aren't you afraid that your golden beans will drown me? Let me tell you, if anything happens to you, I won't live anymore. I won't let you off even if I become a ghost," Sandy threatened. Chapter 1406. As Gu Mengmeng spoke, she picked up the cup of water and deliberately shook her hands, spilling the water all over the place. How could Sandy not see through her act? Sniggering, he took the cup from Gu Mingming's hands and placed it at the side. "I will let you off this time, but only this time." Gu Mengmeng snuggled into Sandy's arms and smiled sweetly. "Once is enough. I won't dare to do such a stupid thing again." Sandy calmed herself down and said, "Since Gregory likes you, and he's strong and can fly, do you want to consider taking him as your partner?" Gu Mengmeng was like a cat whose tail had been stepped on. She sat up immediately and shook her head furiously. No. I definitely won't." Sandy asked, "Why? Didn't the 2 great Buddhas of your family agree? Your family hasn't taken in anyone for 4 years. You are such an outstanding female, you should contribute to the beast world and pass down your outstanding genes, right? Look at Hede and his brothers, how outstanding are they? They are only 3 years old and each of them is outstanding. You should give birth to more children. Gu Mengmeng held Sandy's shoulders with both hands. It's not a problem to give birth. Elvis and Leah promised me that I can give birth to as many children as I want after I get the love of the sky. But you have too few partners, even half-orcs and crippled females have more than 2 partners. Sandy felt wronged for Gu Mengmeng. Gu Mengmeng really wanted to cry. She had spent so much effort to appease Elvis and Leah, but Sandy, her bad friend, had to rub salt into her wounds again. Shaking her head, Gu Mengmeng smiled bitterly and accepted her fate. In the blink of an eye, it had been 4 years since she came to the beast world. Sandy was the only one who could be considered her best friend. She had a good relationship with the 16 valued females, but they had a blind admiration for her and it was hard for them to be on the same level. It was not easy to interact with them. Only Sandy was different. Just like just now, she could not find another person in the beast world who dared to point at her nose and scold her. Only Sandy would risk her entire family's lives for her and stand by her side without hesitation. Gu Mengmeng sighed, then replied seriously, I don't like Gregory, I don't have any feelings for him, there's no connection. Sandy glanced at Hodgson's group of 7, then smiled and said, feelings can be cultivated. When I mated with Hodgson and the others, I didn't like them either. I didn't have any feelings for them. But after getting along with them for a while, they treated me very well. They were considerate and gentle. They would think of everything for me first and consider everything for me. We get along very well. They are also my important family now. Like Bode and Colin, they are my beloved partners. I won't look down on them just because I didn't have feelings for them when I first mated, and they won't blame me for mating with them when I didn't have feelings for them. In the beast world, most families are like this. As long as the males are good enough, the females should give them a chance. Chapter 1407. That's why I can't be nice to Gregory, not at all. Gu Mengmeng knew all too well how lowly the males in the beast world were when it came to relationships. Even someone as arrogant as Snake liked her so much that he was willing to cut open his chest and dig out his gallbladder to relieve her of her pain just because of her smile and cowardice. Even before he died, he still smiled and comforted her. Even after he died, he still said goodbye to her in the dream of the beast deity because he was worried that she would be burdened. He went to another world to look for her. Even though he had died once because of her, he still loved and protected her with a heart full of joy. He did not bear any grudges because of her death and only treated her as the treasure in his heart. She was extremely afraid of this kind of crazy love, because you would never be able to reciprocate it. Leo was able to pester her to such an extent because she liked Leah. She left some leeway in all her rejections and could not really be heartless. No matter how much she tried to hypnotize herself about the values of marriage and love, she still could not resist his deep love and his amorous eyes. So they were entangled and after many twists and turns, they finally got together. She had no feelings for Gregory, so she could not let others misunderstand. She had to be heartless now so that he would have the chance to love someone else in the future. Sandy shrugged and said, "All right, if you don't like it, I won't force you. Anyway, these two in your family treat you very well. Even though they are a little domineering, they still love you dearly." Gu Mengmeng smiled and leaned on Sandy's shoulder, saying, "They are not domineering, you didn't see Snake, TSK, self-taught domineering persona, that is really. Woman, you are playing with fire, haha." Sandy burst into laughter at Gu Mengmeng's sudden words, which she suppressed her voice, and the two females became a mess. Hodgson and the rest looked at each other and could not help but look at Bode with admiration. That gaze seemed to be saying, "No wonder you are the first partner, you really understand Sandy." Bode returned a slight smile, as if saying, "Well said, well said. It was only in the afternoon when Elvis and Leah carried Gu Mengmeng back to the stone castle, while Arnold was still standing outside the territory, his posture imposing. Gu Mengmeng could not help but admire him. He had been standing there for an entire morning, yet he could still maintain such a demeanor. Whenever she lifted her head to look at him, he would look like a poster. He really had perseverance. Leah followed Gu Mengmeng's gaze and looked at Arnold. He felt a little upset but still asked, "You like him?" "Ah." Gu Mengmeng was in a daze and did not catch on to Lee's joke. Leah said, "If you like it, he will definitely be willing. After all, mating with you is more effective than mating with Sandy." Gu Mengmeng shook her head and waved her hands. No, 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 I'm not acting in strange stories from a Chinese studio. Why would I need so many vixens? You alone are enough." Lee's expression brightened and he nodded with a smile. After returning home, Leah made dinner. After Elvis fed Gu Mengmeng, Leah handed the cutlery to Oriton to clean. He then took out the comb that Cole had given to Gregory previously. He asked Gu Mengmeng, "Do you still want this?" Gu Mengmeng's eyes lit up. Gu Mengmeng had long forgotten about the comb and was rather surprised to see Leah take it out. It's still here. I thought I had thrown it away long ago." "I don't want it, I don't want it." "What do I want it for?" "You can deal with it as you see fit." Chapter 1408. Gu Mengmeng guessed that Leah had probably brought that comb to Cole. Although she did not know what they talked about, but after that night, Arnold no longer stood at the border of Sandy's territory posing. Counting the days, little shit should be arriving soon. Gu Mengmeng was a little timid as she discussed with Elvis and Leah. Could they not tell little shit about the stupid things she did on Moda Mountains? Because once little shit knew that she had jumped off a cliff, he would explode on the spot. He had said many times that her life was exchanged with snakes and she had to cherish it. But no matter how many times she said it, Elvis and Leah did not believe that she had jumped off the cliff because she was sure that Gregory would catch her. It was just a threat and not a suicide attempt. They had already used Sandy's mouth to scold her once, should they not complain to little shit again? If the whole world knew that she had attempted to commit suicide, Elvis and Leah nodded in agreement, indicating that they would not bring up this matter again. But no matter how much Gu Mengmeng planned, she forgot about Sandy. At the entrance of Sauter, little shit met Sandy's family, who was being carried by Colin to the forest to watch Bode lead Joseph and his brothers in actual combat training. Originally, Wabi did not have any feelings for Sandy. After all, he was a snake beast and was naturally cold-blooded. It was one thing for him to like Gu Mengmeng, but he would not like everyone related to her just because he liked her. But when Sandy saw Wabi, she took the initiative to greet him and Wabi did not ignore her. He still had to give Gu Mengmeng some face. But this greeting was troublesome. Sandy told Wabi everything about Gu Mengmeng jumping off the cliff on Moda Mountains. As expected, Wabi was infuriated on the spot. He flew straight into Sauter and without a second word, he went up to the roof of the stone castle and directly attacked Gregory. Gregory had lived on Moda Mountains for many years and was naturally sensitive to danger. So when Wabi charged in with a strong murderous intent, before Gregory could react, he had already spread his wings and flew high into the sky. But Wabi was after all 2 levels higher than him, so even though Gregory managed to avoid being hit in his vital organs, his ankle was still hooked by Wabi's venomous fangs. After flying for a short while, he fell straight down in front of Gu Mengmeng. Gu Mengmeng stared blankly at this scene, not knowing how to react. How should she put it? When little shit came in, she wanted to greet him, but before she could even smile and wave, Wabi had already bitten Gregory. Everything happened too quickly and Gu Mengmeng was a little overwhelmed. Little shit. Gu Mengmeng did not manage to stop the first move in time, but she saw Wabi's eyes turning red, as if he would not stop until he had skinned Gregory alive. Gu Mengmeng could only stand in front of Gregory and hug him. Calm down, calm down. What's wrong with you? Did he offend you? Wabiai's eyes narrowed into slits as he stared at Gu Mengmeng with a sinister expression. He said her name word by word, as if he was a messenger from hell demanding for her life. Gu Meng. What? Gu Mengmeng looked at Wabiai in shock. She had known him for almost 3 years, right? She had never seen him so angry before. Even though he could not defeat her, Gu Mengmeng still smiled timidly. Little shit, why are you calling me by my full name like a gangster demanding a debt? What's wrong with you? Aside from the topic. Chapter 1409. You have guts. Wabiai was infuriated and his entire body was emitting black smoke. He really wanted to kill Gregory, but Gu Mengmeng clearly wanted to protect him. He wanted to give Gu Mengmeng a good beating, but even though he knew he was no match for her, he couldn't do anything to her slender arms and legs. He spun around on the spot and his gaze landed on Elvis. Little wolf pup, come out and fight. Wasn't Elvis also suppressing a bellyful of frustration? Being singled out, he chuckled. I'll be happy to keep you company. With that, Elvis and Wabiai left together. Gu Mengmeng face-bombed. The last time these two rascals were like this was when Wabiai was scolding Elvis before they went to the Mecca desert. Now they were doing it again, although she was stunned when she saw Wabiai attack Gregory. Now that she thought about it again, how could she not understand? He probably knew about her jumping off the cliff on the Moda Mountains and couldn't bear to blame her, so he pushed all the blame to Gregory. Sigh, her momentary recklessness had caused someone else to pay the bill. Gu Mengmeng felt guilty. Let him take a look. Don't let little shit really poison him to death. Gu Mengmeng shook her head in exasperation. She wanted to help Gregory up, but hesitated and took a step back, handing Gregory over to Leah. Leah was pleased by Gu Mengmeng's action of avoiding suspicion. Although he had allowed Gregory to like Gu Mengmeng, it didn't mean he was willing for Gu Mengmeng's family to have another male. Moreover, one whose looks could threaten his and could fly, Leah helped Gregory up, but didn't bring him into the stone castle. Instead, he placed him at the edge of the outer wall and let him lie down. Then, he checked his ankle. A large chunk of his flesh had been scraped off by Wabiai's teeth, revealing his white bones. The surrounding flesh had turned black, and a blackness spread along his ankle like a spider web. Leah clicked his tongue. This Wabiai must be really furious, right? This poison is too ruthless. Is there no hope? Gu Mengmeng was a little worried. It was not a big deal for a few males to die in the beast world, but Gu Mengmeng still felt uncomfortable that she had died so mysteriously. Leah was unwilling to let Gu Mengmeng take the blame for another person's death. Snake was already on her mind. He would not let another Gregory become the person in her nightmares. Hence, he sighed and said, count himself lucky, I happen to have a medicine that can cure this poison. Gu Mengmeng's heart sank. With that, Leah returned to the house and brought out a small beast skin bag. Opening it, there were 2 pieces of snake scales inside. He scraped the snake scales with his fingernails and smeared the powder on Gregory's wound. After a short while, the black color that spread like a spider's web gradually faded away. Then, the black color on the wound gradually faded away as well. The poison was neutralized, but the rotten flesh could not be recovered. Leah could only use his fingernails to cut off the rotten flesh. He only stopped when fresh blood flowed out. Gu Mengmeng watched the entire process and felt a little guilty. She shook her head helplessly and said, this little shit is too rash. He didn't say anything and just came up to hit me. Leah tilted his head and looked at Gu Mengmeng. After a long while, he asked, your heart aches. Chapter 1410. He deserved to die because he was not as skilled. Leah stood up and changed his body, removing all the blood stains and stench from his body. He then returned to Gu Mengmeng's side and hugged her. Males do not need a reason to fight. This is the rule in the beast world. If he can't even protect himself, becoming food is his only fate. Gu Mengmeng shook her head. I don't care if he dies outside. But little shit attacked him because of me. So I will not feel comfortable if he dies. I will not let him die. Don't worry. Leah promised. Gu Mengmeng nodded. She glanced at the beast skin bag in Lee's hands. That snake scale is Ellie's. Leah nodded as a reply. Gu Mengmeng no longer felt any hatred towards Ellie. Her scales were just herbs to Gu Mengmeng and she no longer felt disgusted. Pointing at Gregory, Gu Mengmeng asked, that wound, won't he become disabled? He does not fly on his feet. It doesn't matter if he becomes disabled. Leah said nonchalantly. Gu Mengmeng frowned. Leah then corrected himself. Don't worry. He was just scratched by Wabiai's teeth. Males in the beast world are not so delicate. They will grow back in 2 or 3 days. Gu Mengmeng then relaxed and did not say anything else. Elvis and Wabiai's fight lasted until the next afternoon. Gu Mengmeng was speechless when 2 people who looked like wounded soldiers who had just returned from Syria appeared in front of her. A beast king and a 5th-level warrior who was just 1 step away from breaking through the bloodline barrier. Both of them were badly battered. If one did not know that they were fighting each other, they would have thought that the beast deity had manifested himself to be able to beat them up so badly. Gu Mengmeng supported Elvis, but her eyes were on Wabiai. Have you calmed down? Calm down your ass. Humph. Wabiai stiffened his neck and ignored Gu Mengmeng. He swam to the tree outside the stone castle and hung from the branch, pretending to be a flying poop. Gu Mengmeng sighed. All right. If you are still angry, I will get Elvis to fight with you again after you 2 have rested. To little shit, there was nothing in this world that could not be solved with a fight. If there was, then he would fight twice. Actually, Gu Mengmeng herself could also fight with Wabiai. But it was obvious that Wabiai couldn't bring himself to fight her as his hands and feet were tied. Moreover, Elvis and Leah didn't like her to be rough, so she could only leave this matter to Elvis. After all, if Wabiai fought Leah, Leah would probably be beaten into his original form by now. Wabiai didn't say a word. He just closed his eyes and pretended to be asleep, refusing to acknowledge Gu Mengmeng. Gu Mengmeng had no choice but to help Elvis back into the house. As she cleaned his wounds, she asked, You are a beast king, how did you get injured by Wabiai to this extent? Elvis chuckled. We're just venting our emotions, we're not really going to take his life. We can't possibly use our beast pressure to kill him, right? Besides, if I didn't let him hit me twice, would he be able to swallow his anger? Gu Mengmeng frowned as she carefully cleaned Elvis's wounds, muttering, All of you are so hot-tempered. Chapter 14:11. How can I ignore it? What if it gets inflamed? Gu Mengmeng grumbled as she carefully cleaned Elvis's wound. What she didn't know was that Gregory, who was lying outside the door, had already woken up. Due to the complications of being poisoned, his entire body was weak and he had lost a piece of flesh on his leg. It wasn't fatal, but it was still quite painful. Unfortunately, he didn't receive a caring look from Gu Mengmeng. Hearing her asking about Elvis's well-being, Gregory's mind kept replaying Cole's words, You can become her partner and brand the mark on her heart, replacing Elvis as the first partner. How blissful would it be if she was in his arms now, blaming him for not protecting himself properly when he was injured. Elvis and Lee's injuries were not that serious. Although they looked frightening, they did not kill each other. So before evening, their injuries had already healed and they looked like nothing had happened to them. On the other hand, although Gregory only had 1 injury and it didn't look obvious, he was still a 3rd-level beast and his recovery speed was far slower than the 5th-level Wabiai, much less the Beast King Elvis. But because Gregory was injured, Gu Mengmeng felt apologetic, so she asked Leah to prepare a portion for Gregory when preparing dinner. Gu Mingming's family of 3 consisted of the regular member who shared meals with them, Oratin, the still angry and cold Wabi, and the injured Gregory. Gu Mengmeng sat at the table and used her chopsticks to poke at the meat in her bowl. Looking at the unhappy Wabi, she thought for a moment and coaxed him. Little shit, do you want to be the Beast King? I can help you snatch the soul of the forest from Cole. Then you will be the rightful Snake King and replace Snake at the pinnacle of snake life. Just thinking about it makes me happy, right? Wabi rolled his eyes coldly and snorted without saying another word. Plan 1 to please Wabi failed. She scooped a large bowl of meat and brought it to Wabi's mouth. Lee's culinary skills have improved quite a bit recently. Try it, he added an unknown fruit into this meat. It's very delicious. Wabi nodded. Wabi nodded. Wabi turned his head to show Gu Mengmeng the back of his head. Plan 2 to please Wabi failed. Gu Mengmeng sighed and said, forcing me to use my ultimate move, huh? Wabi looked nonchalantly at Gu Mengmeng and sneered, completely unfazed by her threat. Gu Mengmeng nodded and smiled sneakily. I'm going to sleep. Wabi was stunned for half a second before he understood what sleep meant. His pupils returned to normal in an instant and he looked at Gu Mengmeng with a sparkling gaze. Gu Mengmeng laughed and said, then go and tell my father that the time I helped you ask questions in the past doesn't count anymore. I will never send you to see him for the rest of your life. Humph. Wabi coughed and grabbed Gu Mengmeng's arm. Gu Tumeng, you can't treat me like this. Successfully coercing Wabi's plan 1. Gu Mengmeng imitated Wabi's indifferent attitude just now. She harumphed coldly and stiffened her neck, not saying another word. Little shit was a classic example of refusing a toast only to be forced to drink a forfeit. Thinking of wine, Gu Mengmeng turned her head back and glared at Wabi. You drank all my wine before winter arrived. Wabi was stunned. Chapter 14:12. Who are you calling stingy? Gu Mengmeng placed her hands on her hips, looking like a teapot. Wabi had a favor to ask of her, so he naturally lowered his arrogance. I am stingy, all right. That's more like it. Gu Mengmeng twitched her lips and let him off. Wabi hooked his arm around Gu Mengmeng's neck and said in a brotherly manner, but to be honest, don't forget that matter. I'm counting on you. Gu Mengmeng pushed Wabi's arm away with a look of disdain. You still know you're counting on me? Then you still dare to give me that attitude? Wasn't I so angry that I became muddle-headed? Moreover, even if I was that angry, I still couldn't bear to lay a finger on you, right? You are my ancestor, my biological ancestor, all right? Wabi nudged Gu Mengmeng with his shoulder, trying to please her. In her memory, Wabi had never shown such an expression when Snake was alive. It seemed like he was getting more and more mischievous after spending so much time with Gu Mengmeng. Gu Mengmeng nodded. All right, I got it. Keep that disgusting face of yours. After all, you are Snake's father now. Can't you have some face? Wabi chuckled. Sigh, you don't say. Being Snake's father really feels great. I don't need to do anything. Just thinking about it makes me feel like I can ascend to the heavens. Yes, you should stand shoulder to shoulder with the sun. Gu Mengmeng rolled her eyes at Wabi. Wabi laughed dryly. Then, he pointed at Elvis. Little wolf, why are you still standing there? Hurry up and help your female to sleep. Damn it. Gu Mengmeng slapped the back of Wabi's head. Don't you have any respect for your old age? Help your female to sleep, he actually shouted such shameful words. Why was he so afraid that others couldn't hear him? How easy would it be to cause a misunderstanding? Yes, Elvis had to sleep with her because he was worried that she would meet the beast deity alone. He was afraid that the beast deity would scold her and that she would directly fall into Snake's arms in her dreams. But when the two of them went to see the beast deity, they were really just sleeping. Just like kindergartners taking an afternoon nap, they just held hands and lay on the bed with their eyes closed. Damn it, why do I feel like I'm making things worse? Wabi-Ai was bewildered by Gu Mingming's patting, but he seemed to have gotten used to it. All he wanted now was for Gu Mengmeng to go to sleep so that she could tell him how Snake was doing when she woke up. And when would he be able to see him? So Wabi-Ai didn't mind her touching him and spouting nonsense. He just gave a perfunctory reply. Yes, 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 I am a disrespectful old man. My entire tribe is disrespectful old man. Gu Mengmeng was so amused by Wabi-Ai that she lost her temper. She allowed him to push and shove her into Elvis's arms, not even allowing him to wipe his mouth before pushing him into the stone castle to sleep. Chapter 14:13. Once she obtained the love of the sky and bought 5 females to send to the Moda Mountains to repay his favor, he would have to leave her, right? Looking at Oriton, who was eating his meal in a melancholy manner, Gregory felt that he was very annoying for some reason. Without saying a word, he flew off. Back in the room, Wabi-Ai entered the stone castle as though he was in his own home. In a place like the beast world where power was the most important, someone with Wabi-Ai's insane level of power had no concept of territory. After all, the only person stronger than him in the past 800 years was Snake, and Snake was the Snake King. Even Wabi-Ai himself belonged to Snake, so there was naturally no need to talk about territory between them. After that, Gu Mengmeng became the Beast King, but because of Gu Mengmeng and Wabi-Ai were very close, so there was no need to talk about territory. After that, Elvis became the Beast King, but because of Gu Mengmeng, Elvis was used to Wabi-Ai coming and going as he pleased, so there was no need to talk about territory. But now, besides Gu Mengmeng and Elvis, there was another Beast King in Sauter. So before Gu Mengmeng slept, she couldn't help but worry. She held Wabi-Ai's hand and instructed, "That pervert Cole is now the Beast King. Don't provoke him when Elvis and I are asleep. You can't beat him now, understand?" Wabi-Ai replied perfunctorily, I know. Gu Mengmeng knew that he wasn't being serious. She slapped him and said, "I am being serious with you, be more attentive." Wabi-Ai sked and said, "How many times have I told you, I am not afraid of the Beast King. Moreover, all males in the beast world love to fight. Aren't you making me want to challenge him even more by telling me this?" Gu Mengmeng pointed at Wabi-Ai's nose and said, "I am warning you, if you dare to provoke Cole while I am asleep, I will kill you when I return." Wabi-Ai said, All right, I know. I can't beat him, so I won't provoke him. Even if he comes to provoke me, I won't care about him. When you wake up, I'll call you and your little wolf cub. Let's go and kill him, okay?" Gu Mengmeng then nodded her head in satisfaction. Wabi-Ai pushed Gu Mengmeng down impatiently before stuffing her into Elvis's arms. Then, he used a beast skin to cover the both of them. His actions were so rough, that he had no tender feelings for the fairer sex. "Stop talking nonsense and go to sleep. Now." Leah sat by the bed and pulled down the beast skin, revealing Gu Mengmeng's little face. He smiled helplessly and said, "All right, go to sleep. I'll watch over you." Gu Mengmeng nodded, then slowly closed her eyes. Seeing that Gu Mengmeng's breathing had evened out, Leah turned to look at Wabi-Ai. "While Xiao Meng is asleep, help me with something." "What?" Wabi-Ai asked. Leah smiled. "Fight with me. I want to level up." Wabi-Ai chuckled and said, "Oh. Intermittently working hard to improve. Haven't you always been walking the path of eating and waiting for death?" Leah didn't mind Wabi-Ai's teasing and just smiled. "Cole is doing something that Meng Meng doesn't like." I promised Meng Meng that I would stop him. So, I need to level up to the 5th level first, then activate the Beast King bloodline and become the legitimate Fox King. I will take drastic measures against Cole. Snakel whipped out his cell phone and sent a message to the principal, asking him to retrieve the surveillance footage from the corridor outside the female toilet and take screenshots of the faces of the 3 girls who had just walked out. He would then send them along with their admission information to his secretary. The headmaster did not dare to be negligent, so he did as he was told. But Snake was not in the mood for class anymore. He pulled Gu Mingming's hand and said, "Let's go home. But we still have lessons in the afternoon." Gu Mengmeng was worried about her school credits. Her results were already not good. If she were to miss school, how could she graduate? Chapter 14-15. Gu Mengmeng hesitated for a moment, then pulled Snake and asked, "Can I not go back today?" Snake looked at Gu Mengmeng and asked gently, "If you don't go home, where do you want to go?" Gu Mengmeng lowered her head and said, "I want to go back to the hostel for a night." "No." Snake frowned and said, "It's not convenient for me to stay in the female hostel." Gu Mengmeng was stunned for 2 seconds, then she shook her head and said, "What I mean is, I want to go back to my previous hostel and squeeze in with Bailan for a night." Snake's face darkened and he pinched Gu Mingming's chin. Looking at her red and swollen eyes, he said unhappily, "You mean you want to abandon me and sleep with someone else?" Why did that sound so weird? Bailan is a girl. Gu Mengmeng mumbled softly. Snake's face was still cold as he narrowed his eyes and said, "So a girl can hug my woman as she pleases?" Gu Mengmeng choked. Her relationship with Bailan was very good, but they were innocent all right. Why did those words sound so different when they came out of Snake's mouth? I just feel bad today and want to talk to Bailan about it." Snake pulled Gu Mengmeng back into his arms and said, "You have something on your mind but don't want to tell me, but to tell someone else." "Gu Mengmeng, whose girlfriend are you?" Gu Mingming's face heated up from Snake's question. She lowered her head and said softly, "Not everything on one's mind is suitable to be discussed with one's boyfriend." Snake lifted Gu Mingming's chin and forced her to look up at him and asked, "Why?" Gu Mengmeng pursed her lips and answered, "A girl's mind is very complicated and delicate. Guys will find it pretentious and impatient when they hear it. I don't want you to think that I am too clingy and troublesome." So, Snake was not too satisfied with Gu Mingming's explanation, but it was better than using the excuse of Bailan is more important than him, so he reluctantly accepted it. Kissing Gu Mingming's little mouth, Snake then said, "Tu Meng, stop provoking my jealousy, all right?" Gu Mengmeng looked at Snake in confusion, not understanding what he meant. Jealousy? Such a thing did not exist. Gu Mengmeng felt that she did not have good relationships with the opposite sex. In her past life, she was so busy trying to survive that she did not have time to think about other things. The only time she had anything to do with it was when she had given Zhang Jinqing a love letter, but it was intercepted by Snake halfway. After dating Snake, she became even more unapproachable to strangers. There was no existence around her that could make a boyfriend jealous. Snakel could tell that Gu Mengmeng was confused and just smiled. He looked into her eyes and said affectionately, "Before I appeared by your side, I was jealous of everyone who passed by you. Because they could easily see the you that I dreamed of. Now that I can finally be with you, you still want to tell others about your troubles. Tu Meng, if someone else is more important than me in your heart, I will go crazy. I will go crazy from jealousy. Actually, I hope that there is no one else in your heart except for me." But Snake did not say this out loud. Because he knew where Gu Mingming's limits were. If he pushed her too hard, she would only be scared away. He wanted to protect her for the rest of her life, but not to imprison her. Gu Mengmeng was flustered by Snake's words. She lowered her head and said, "I was just afraid that you would find me annoying." Chapter 14:16. I have already missed out on the past 18 years with you and I can't make up for that. So Gu Meng, don't let me lose even more. To me, you are too precious, more precious than you can imagine. Snake kissed the top of Gu Mingming's head and sighed heavily. I can't be without you, not even for a second. If you must return to the hostel, then give me 3 days and I will get the school to clear out a building for me to stay with you. But if you want to leave me and go to someone else's bed, this is definitely not possible. Don't mention it again, don't even think about it. I don't want to go to someone else's bed. Look at what you're saying. Gu Mengmeng swore to the heavens. She and Lon were really pure, but why did it sound so awkward coming from Snake's mouth? Snake smiled and walked out of the female toilet with Gu Mengmeng in his arms. The other students had already gone to class and there was no one else in the corridor other than the two of them. Snake hugged Gu Mengmeng as he walked and said, You don't want to go to someone else's bed. You only want to go to my bed. Alright, you said it, don't go back on your words, understand? I didn't mean it that way. Gu Mengmeng hurriedly retorted. Yes, they were now in a relationship. Since he used the excuse of being a pet dog to stay on her bed every day, they did sleep together every night. But in all honesty, the two of them were really just sleeping on the same bed, and there was not the slightest bit of inappropriate behavior. But what, only want to go to my bed, why did everything Snake said today make her feel awkward? Snake's gaze froze and he narrowed his eyes. You didn't mean it that way. Then what do you mean? You don't want to go to my bed, or you don't just want to go to my bed. Pfft, Gu Mengmeng spat at Snake. Can't I sleep on my own bed? Why must I sleep on someone else's bed? Upon hearing this answer, Snake smiled and nodded, saying, You have quite a strong sense of territory. Alright, I'll do as you say. You can sleep on your own bed. I don't recognize beds, I only recognize you. As long as you are on my bed, I'm fine with any bed. But I have to correct something. I am not someone else, I am yours. Gu Mingming's face was extremely red. She quickened her steps and scolded, shameless. Snake's legs were much longer than Gu Mingming's. Gu Mengmeng had already started to jog, but Snake was still walking leisurely. He did not mind her scolding him and just smiled. It's enough for me to have you. Why do I still need my face? It was only noon when the two of them drove back to the villa. When she went to school in the morning, she was called out by her jerk father after just one lesson. Then, she stayed in the toilet for half a day, listening to her classmates ridiculing her behind her back. Then, she was teased by Snakel before she came back. Gu Mengmeng thought, his university tuition seemed to have been paid for in vain. Damn it, I received the money, but I didn't get the knowledge that I was supposed to give. It felt like I was shopping on Taobao and the other party had received payment for the goods, but the goods were fake. Snakel looked at Gu Mengmeng sitting at the dining table biting on her chopsticks. It was obvious that she had a lot on her mind, but she did not look sad. He guessed that she was probably not thinking about that scumbag of a father of hers, so he did not probe further. He allowed her to wander around the universe and daydream while he prepared lunch in an orderly manner in the kitchen. Chapter 14:17. Based on the average human lifespan of 80 years, with 3 meals a day, he could still cook 67,890 meals for Gu Mengmeng. Excluding the meals during their dates, work, school canteen as well as her occasional cravings to eat junk food, the total amount of food he could cook for her was about 40,000 meals. If he wanted to cook all the dishes he had learned for her, he had to ensure 3 dishes and 1 soup for every meal at home. Lunch was the Italian series, with ravioli as the main course and 3 other dishes, namely bistica fiorentina, white wine lavarelli fish and caciocco. For dessert, he prepared a Sicilian sweet omelette and a special cappuccino. Usually, Italian delicacies should be paired with wine, but Snake was not too willing to let Gu Mengmeng drink alcohol, so there was no wine cellar in this villa. There was a manor in F country, but that was one of the wedding gifts he had prepared for Gu Mengmeng. After eating, Snake carried Gu Mengmeng to the balcony on the second floor to bask in the sun. He casually played with her hair and asked with a smile, "Are you planning to read Xinhua dictionary to me? Or are you planning to tell me what's bothering you?" Gu Mengmeng held the coffee cup in her hands and took a small sip of Snake's specially brewed coffee. It tasted really good, the sweetness was just right and the foam was fine. He did not purposely make it especially bitter to show off his taste, nor did he put in too much sugar to please her taste buds. Snake had accurately achieved a balance, perfectly satisfying Gu Mengmeng's current desire that she could not even describe. The feeling of bliss spread from her lips to her entire body, making her feel warm, and the events in the morning did not seem so depressing anymore. Gu Mengmeng lowered her head and smiled, saying, "I don't want to read Xinhua dictionary, it's so weird, then share what's bothering you, I also want to hear it." Snake gently stroked Gu Mengmeng's hair, his eyes filled with love. "You also want to hear it?" Gu Mengmeng glanced at Snake. Snake nodded and said, "I want to hear it whenever you want to talk to me." Gu Mengmeng chuckled and asked, "Then, what if you are busy? For example, in class or in a meeting?" Snake kissed the back of Gu Mengmeng's hand like a gentleman, then said, "As long as you want to talk to me, I am not busy at any time." Gu Mengmeng smiled, then said, "Actually, it's nothing much, I just felt very wronged at that time, but now that I think about it, why did he come to find me? Did he encounter some difficulties? No matter what, he was still my biological father. After all, he gave me life. Would it be too unfilial of me to run away like this? But I also felt that I had suffered so much because of him. I really couldn't forgive him. Therefore, he was very conflicted and did not know what to do. I want to ask Bai Lan and hear what she has to say. Is Bai Lan's opinion very important?" Snake asked with a tinge of jealousy. Gu Mengmeng shook her head and smiled bitterly. "Actually, I can already predict what Bai Lan will say to me." Snake replied with a single syllable to express his question. Gu Mengmeng said, "She will probably ask if I am the reincarnation of a white lotus. Then she will list all the hardships and sufferings I have suffered all these years because of an irresponsible father. The final conclusion should be, as long as you are not an idiot, don't bother about him." Aside from the topic, this Italian meal sounded very classy, didn't it? How was Susu's acting cool? To be honest, I have never eaten any of these dishes before. I only read about them from gourmet blogs. Susu herself probably only knew about pizza and spaghetti. Chapter 14:18. Snake smiled. According to Gu Mengmeng's memory, Snake felt that Gu Mengmeng's analysis was correct. Bai Lan's words should be along this route. Even if the wording was different, the main idea should be close to the mark. Since you already guessed it, why do you still need to discuss it with her? Snake asked. Gu Mengmeng lowered her head and smiled faintly. Her eyes were a little teary as she replied, "I just need Bai Lan to scold me, then I can tell myself with a clear conscience that Bai Lan is right. It's not my fault that I don't care about him, he is a scum. He gave birth to me but did not take responsibility for me, causing me, a child with parents, to live a life worse than a beggar by the roadside. So no matter what hardships he encountered today, it is his retribution. I don't need to pity him or blame myself, he deserves it." Yes. After Gu Mengmeng finished speaking, she secretly turned to look at Snake. She took a deep breath and said, "Do you think I am so evil? Are you regretting having a girlfriend like me?" Snake shook his head and smiled, "There is no good or evil in my eyes, no right or wrong, only you. You are my standard. If you are kind, I will redeem myself and become a Buddha. If you are evil, I will sacrifice myself and become a demon." Regardless of good or evil, I will always be on your side. Thank you for saying that. Gu Mengmeng thought for a while and kissed Snake on the cheek. Then, she added, although I know it is fake, I am still very touched by it. I feel much better now that you have comforted me. Silly girl. Snake rubbed Gu Mingming's head and said, lying is to achieve some goals that cannot be achieved by telling the truth. And I, who is omnipotent, do not need to lie. Gu Mengmeng was amused by Snake and said, are you really in your second year of university? Not in your second year. Omnipotent me, TSK, are you in the final stages of Chinibu? In fact, he was almost omnipotent. Except for her. But, he had originally intended to make her laugh. As long as she laughed, he had achieved his goal. It was nothing to be teased by her. As long as she was happy, he would be happy. Then what do you plan to do next? Do you want to forgive him or take revenge? I can help you with either. Snake asked. Gu Mengmeng shook her head and said, I want to know why he suddenly came to school to look for me, but I don't have the courage to ask. Forgive him, I can't do it. There was no need for her to take revenge on him. The so-called sadness meant that it was really difficult, but it was over. Since I've made it through, why should I sink into it again? Anyway, I haven't had a father for more than 10 years. I hope that he will never appear in front of me again. Let me continue to be a fatherless child for the rest of my life. All right. Snake kissed her forehead and said, he will not appear in front of you again, don't worry. Gu Mengmeng smiled. I hope so. After that day, Gu Mingming's jerk of a father never appeared again. What she did not know was that the bastard of a father, his mistress and their illegitimate daughter were thrown to Zimbabwe by Snake's men. That was a GDP 0 per capita. For $1, the average lifespan of a man was 37 years, and the average lifespan of a woman was 34 years. Countries where 1% of the population carries HIV. Tearing up a contract is against the law. Snake pretended to be serious and said, moreover, I have already brought it to my lawyer for justice. You. Chapter 1420. Gu Mengmeng took out her phone in a daze and entered the bank app to check her balance. Oh my, so many zeros, making Gu Mengmeng dizzy. She couldn't even count them clearly. Snake turned off her phone and smiled. Don't count, it's just a string of numbers. You just need to know that you can buy whatever you want now that you have money. Gu Mengmeng was stunned for a moment before she suddenly looked up and smiled brightly. So you can't use the 7 to 9 clause to threaten me anymore. I can pay you 300,000 for breaching the contract, right? Snake raised his eyebrows. Now that you have money, the first thing you want to do is to dump me. Let me remind you, I'm worth more than those numbers in your bank account. Gu Mengmeng just grinned foolishly and said, that's different. Tell me, can I dump 300,000 from you for breaching the contract and become a free person? Snake smiled helplessly and nodded. Gu Mengmeng raised her hand happily. Ye free. Snake really loved Gu Mingming's naive look. All he did was hand over a year's worth of annual salary, and she was so happy that she looked like a fool. Freedom. Ha, with just this bit of money, he would make her pay in less than 3 minutes. As long as he didn't want to let go, she couldn't buy her freedom even if she had the world's wealth. Moreover, she only had a few tens of millions in her hands. Gu Mengmeng laughed for a long time before taking 2 deep breaths. All right, let's forget about it. I don't know how to manage a business. If such a big company is handed over to me, it will definitely go bankrupt. If we can't tear up the contract, let's get it back to the notary. You have the courage to make fun of the nobles, but I don't have the courage to be a Bao-Si. It's all right if you don't know how to manage, you can hire me. Snake hugged Gu Mingming's shoulders. I'm very cheap. Not only do I not need you to pay me, I can even provide for your food and lodging, make you happy and warm your bed. You're getting more and more indecent. Gu Mengmeng elbowed Snake. Stop fooling around. I really can't accept this kind of gift. It's too burdensome. Silly. Snake kissed Gu Mengmeng's little head. What's there to be burdensome about? What is yours and what is mine is ours, and what is ours is yours. It's just a small business. Isn't it the same no matter whose name it is? As long as you don't fly me, I don't care about anything else. The small company you're talking about is Monster Group, which has assets of tens of billions of USD. I really can't take it. You're scaring me. Gu Mengmeng shook Snake's arm and begged, accepting such an expensive gift just because we're dating, what will others say about me in the future? Snakel smiled and said, how should I put it? I would probably say that you are a hidden rich man who came to school just to provide for me. Your mind is not on your studies at all, so your results have not been ideal. Gu Mengmeng was taken aback. So, you did it because you heard those girls gossiping about my results in the toilet yesterday. Snake did not deny it, but neither did he admit it. He just smiled. Chapter 14:21. The students all started spreading rumors in private, saying that Gu Mengmeng was being kept by a rich and powerful man. And when they personally witnessed that the person who stood up for Gu Mengmeng was Snake's classmate, they all kept their mouths shut and no one dared to reveal Snake's identity. This caused the rumors to become even more exaggerated. The list of people who kept Gu Mengmeng's lovers had swept away almost all the big shots in the political and financial circles, except for Snake. Snake did not like Gu Mengmeng to be paired up with others, not even rumors. Her name could only be paired up with Snake's name and linked together. But if he stood out as the CEO of Monsieur, then the dirty water would still be poured onto Gu Mengmeng, and the sugar daddy would only be Snake. Moreover, Gu Mengmeng would most likely be twisted into all sorts of B** cheese, and be condemned by keyboard warriors. Snake did not want Gu Mengmeng to suffer from all these. So, if one of them had to be a mistress, then he would be the one. A share transfer agreement had turned Gu Mengmeng into the CEO of a company with assets of 10 billion USD. Then, all the shopping, villas and luxury cars that Mo Bebe had previously taken out would naturally be rationalized. And being Gu Mengmeng's sugar daddy sounded quite interesting. Using beauty to seduce Tu Meng, this was definitely a compliment to Snake. Of course, if Tu Meng minded that their relationship had been twisted by others, he just had to announce another identity that could match Gu Mengmeng's. If there really was no identity that could match the low-profile Monster company, he could just establish another company. These were all small matters, why bother? So, after he had Gu Mengmeng sign the share transfer agreement, he arranged for someone to spread the news in school. As expected, the moment he arrived at school, everyone started pointing fingers at him. In the past, he hated it when other people's gazes were focused on him, but today, he felt especially good being stared at. There was no other reason but because everyone's topic of discussion today was, look. He's Gu Mengmeng's sugar daddy. Yup, the whole world knew that he was Tu Meng's man. This felt so much better than the word embroidered on his chest. It felt so good. Gu Mengmeng looked at Snake's enigmatic smile and did not know what he was thinking about. She pushed his arm and said, actually you don't have to be like this. It's a fact that your results are not good. Let them say whatever they want. If you really want to help me, just tutor me and raise my grades. It's too scary to throw an entire enterprise at me. My heart can't take it. Snake rubbed Gu Mengmeng's little head and hugged her in his arms. Don't overcomplicate this matter. Just do what you have to do. I will settle Monster's matter and I won't let you suffer. Moreover, that company originally belonged to you. Belongs to me. Gu Meng Meng was confused. Of course. I've said it before. Everything I want to give you is yours. Snakel pinched Gu Mingming's face with a smile, then said, Aren't you curious why it's called Monster Company? Gu Meng Meng thought about it and nodded. Chapter 1422. Snake looked at Gu Meng Meng calmly. His expression was so calm that it was impeccable. That's impossible. Monster Company has been established for more than 5 years and you just met me this semester. How could it be possible? Gu Meng Meng was really dumbfounded. Snake placed his palm in front of Gu Meng Meng and said, Tu Meng. What? Gu Meng Meng instinctively responded and placed her hand in Snake's. Ever since he snatched her love letter, he had been calling her that every now and then. It was almost a conditioned reflex. Snake smiled and held Gu Meng Meng's little fist. He brought it to his lips and kissed it. Do you believe in the predestined past and present lives? Gu Meng Meng smiled awkwardly and shook her head. Snake chuckled and said, I didn't believe it in the past but now I do. Perhaps a person's life is a continuous cycle of reincarnation. After living in this life and dying, crossing the bridge of helplessness, drinking the soup of Meng, then descending to the human world again to experience everything in the previous life. The cycle repeats endlessly. As for me, I loved you so much in my previous life so I did not drink the soup of Meng even after crossing the bridge of helplessness, or maybe I did drink it but that soup could not overcome my love for you. So I still remember how much I love you. Ah. Gu Mingming's face was full of disdain. She raised her arm for Snake to see. My hairs are all standing up. My great CEO, you should stop reading so many romance novels. It's very touching to hear such a sentence in a novel but it's so disgusting to hear it in person. Snake chuckled. He did not get angry no matter how she ridiculed him. Instead, he loved how she became more and more presumptuous in front of him. In the beast world, she was always so careful in front of him. Now that he thought about it, she might just be afraid of snakes. Then, since you love me so much, don't make things difficult for me. Hurry and take back Monster Company. Gu Meng Meng begged. Snake shook his head and said, There's no such thing as taking back something you've given away. But if you're willing to press your nose and squeal like a little pig, I can reluctantly help you settle the media meeting in the afternoon and not let your identity be exposed. Gu Meng Meng exploded. What? There's even a media meeting. Snake nodded and took out his cell phone to randomly open a news website. The top headline was about the change in the CEO of Monster Company, as well as all sorts of speculations about tonight's press conference. Without any hesitation, Gu Meng Meng pressed the tip of her nose upwards and then snorted like a pig. Snake smiled and rubbed her face, his eyes full of affection. Perhaps, even Snake himself had never expected that his pair of sinister eyes, feared by the entire beast world, would one day become so gentle. You're so adorable. Chapter 1423. The morning classes passed in a daze. Gu Meng Meng had yet to recover from the shock of a poor student turning into a multimillionaire with hundreds of billions of assets. Snake, the top student in the second year, acted as if he did not need to go to school. Every day, he would follow Gu Mingming's schedule and attend whatever classes she had. When Gu Meng Meng had no classes, he would accompany her to wander around the school. When Gu Meng Meng skipped classes, he would also skip classes with her. Hence, since Gu Meng Meng did not have any classes in the afternoon, Snake dragged Gu Meng Meng to the basketball club. Gu Meng Meng did not have any plans and she was used to being led by the nose by Snake, so she was used to him sticking to her. It was as if the two of them were conjoined twins and she did not feel that there was anything wrong with it. When they reached the basketball club, Zhang Jinqing and the rest were already warming up. Bai Lan was holding onto a mineral water bottle as she watched Zhang Jinqing and the rest practice, cheering them on from time to time. Seeing that Gu Meng Meng had arrived, Bailon threw away her water bottle and pounced over to hug Gu Meng Meng. She chuckled. "Girl, did you miss me?" Gu Meng Meng glanced at Zhang Jinqing and said sourly, "What's the use of me missing you? You must be in a honeyed relationship now, flushed with success and enjoying yourself to the point of forgetting home, right? In this world, one can only hear the new laugh and never hear the old cry. That's impossible." Bailon completely ignored Snake's existence. She hooked her arms around Gu Mingming's neck and forcefully pulled her out of his arms. She said as she walked, "New clothes are not as good as old people. How can a new lover have old hobbies? Isn't that right? As long as you say the word, I will immediately fly away. Zhang Jinqing will be with you forever, flying wing to wing, how about that?" Gu Meng Meng could already see Snake's face turning from white to green and now, it was turning a little black. She poked Bailon and said, "Forget it, I will not do something like breaking up a pair of lovebirds." "Tsk, coward." Bailon naturally saw that Gu Meng Meng was looking at Snake's expression. She laughed and did not continue teasing her. It was true that Bailon was carefree, but she would never do anything that would put Gu Meng Meng in a difficult position. She could tell that Gu Meng Meng had fallen into Snake's hands. This little girl was just experiencing her first awakening of love and was definitely not a match for someone of Snake's level. In order not to let Gu Meng Meng suffer even more when she was not around, Bailon knew when to stop. She would not allow Snake to use her as an excuse to bully Gu Meng Meng behind her back. Of course, Bailon was purely because of Snake's usual aloof and domineering persona. Actually, strictly speaking, Snake's level of love was on par with Gu Mingming's. Their love experience and sources were both Korean dramas and novels. The difference was that Gu Meng Meng watched them on her own while Snake received them passively from Gu Mingming's memories. In other words, these were all theories on paper. It was the first time for a young lady to experience it in a bridal sedan chair, so no one should laugh at each other. Snake was displeased that Bailon had snatched her from his arms, but he could not snatch her back openly, so he could only rub her head and say, "I will go change, don't go too far. I want to see you the moment I step out of the changing room." "All right." Gu Meng Meng replied softly and even smiled sweetly. Chapter 1424. When Snakel came out of the changing room, he saw Gu Meng Meng curled up into a ball on the chair, looking pitiful. Bailan's left foot was stepping on the edge of Gu Meng Meng's chair, her right hand supporting the back of the chair as she circled Gu Meng Meng in an extremely rough and barbaric position. She pinched Gu Meng Meng's shoulder with her right hand and shook it with all her might, her saliva flying everywhere as she scolded, "Gu Meng Meng, let me tell you, if you damn care about him, not only are you stupid, you're also a B*tch. Did you forget that when you were in the first year of junior high, your stepfather did not give you any money for your school fees? You were forced to ask him for child support, but what happened in the end? He allowed that mistress to slap you on the streets, and your ears were still ringing 3 days after you came back. The left side of your face was swollen for a week before it went down. In the end, he did not even give you a single cent after you were beaten up so badly, right? I brought you to argue with him, but what did he say? He said you were beaten up because you did not respect your elders, and did not call the mistress mother. It's only right for a mother to teach her daughter a lesson. You said bad things about her in front of others because of your poor upbringing. I slapped you too lightly that day, right? Gu Meng Meng nodded with reddened eyes. Bailon roared angrily, "Didn't I ask him then? Forcing you to call a B*tch who broke up your family, turning you from a happy child to an orphan, mother, how shameless can he be? What did he say to me? Tell me." Gu Meng Meng bit her lower lip and said in a sobbing tone, "He said if I was a son, he would definitely not divorce my mother. If I want to blame someone, I can only blame myself for not being able to carry on the Gu family line. I can't blame him for being so disappointing. What else? Bailon was relentless. Gu Mingming's tears rolled down her cheeks as she said in a hoarse voice, "He told me not to be as shameless as my mother. He is not a son, so why should I spend his money? He told me not to appear in front of him again, lest I destroy the harmony of his family. He said every cent of his money is to be left for his son." "Then why the hell is he looking for you now?" Bailon gritted her teeth in anger, her eyes turning red as she stared at Gu Mengmeng. She looked as if she was pitiful for her misfortune and angry at her failure to live up to her expectations. She steeled her heart and could not bear to continue scolding her. She hugged Gu Mengmeng and said, "Girl, let me tell you, you cannot be so cowardly. No matter why he comes back to you, you can't take care of him. Otherwise, your soft-heartedness and kindness will kill you sooner or later." "I know. I know." Gu Mengmeng nodded while wiping her tears. Today was their daily practice. "They look so cool." Snakel smiled and the ball landed on the back of his foot. He hooked his leg and used the back of his foot and calf to stabilize the ball. Then, he grabbed Gu Mingming's waist with both hands and lifted her above his head, riding on his neck. After Gu Mengmeng sat down, he lifted his leg and kicked the ball into his hands. He carried Gu Mengmeng to the bottom of the basket and patted the ball twice before tossing it up to Gu Mengmeng. "Didn't you want to try it? Dunk it." "Aw." Gu Mengmeng was dumbfounded. She held the ball and did not know what to do. Chapter 14:26. The white fog gradually condensed. Gu Mengmeng stretched lazily and stood up from the beast deity's side. She realized that the beast deity and Elvis were looking at her with strange expressions. She thought about it and understood. "My tragic childhood has passed for a long time. I am living a good life now and every day is blissful and fulfilling. I don't have the time to dwell on the grudges of the previous generation." Gu Mengmeng walked into Elvis's arms and hugged him. Then, she smiled and said, "Just like what Elvis said, if all the sufferings I experienced in the past were necessary for me to meet him and Leah, then those sufferings were all worth it. Even if it was a little more painful, I can still endure it." Elvis hugged Gu Mengmeng tightly and kissed her temple. He could not say a word. His heart was in so much pain that it could not be any more painful. Thousands of words of consolation were stuck in his throat. He could not even think of a suitable sentence to say. The beast deity sighed and said, "It's all right, it's best if you forget. He doesn't cherish you, his precious daughter, but I cherish you. He values men over women, so I sent you to a world where women are more important than men. The grievances you suffered at his place, I'll make it up to you double." Gu Mengmeng smiled sweetly and said, "So, it's enough for me to have you as my father." The beast deity nodded. His eyes were still filled with heartache. "Then other than asking about Wabi, do you have anything else you want to ask this time?" The beast deity looked like he was trying to make up for all the sufferings his daughter had suffered. It was as if he would agree to whatever Gu Mengmeng asked for this time. Gu Mengmeng smiled. She felt that if she did not ask for an exorbitant price, she would be letting down her father's good intentions. But she decided to forget it. Father was the beast deity, but there seemed to be a leader above him. She was a sensible daughter and could not make things difficult for her father. So she thought for a moment and replied, "I will be heading to the Moda Mountains during the dry season. Father, do you have any instructions for me?" The beast deity thought for a moment. He looked at Elvis and then at Gu Mengmeng and said, "I think Gregory is not bad. Are you really not considering taking him in? There was no harm in having someone who could fly in the family. I have measured his abilities and after mating, he should be able to reach the 4th level and is close to the 5th level. If he works hard, he should be able to reach the 5th level in less than a year. By then, you can give Cole's soul of the forest to him and then give the spirit of the rocky cliffs to your little fox. Your family will have 4 beast kings and you can form an heir, sea, land, and land team. By then, there will be nothing you can't do and you will be invincible. Gu Meng Meng held her forehead and said, Father, I don't have any grand plans to rule the beast world. TSK, look at you. The beast deity pinched Gu Mingming's nose and said, then even if we don't unify the beast world, isn't it good to go for a ride in the sky when we have nothing to do? Besides, Gregory's appearance is not bad, so he should be in line with your taste. Gu Mengmeng glanced at Elvis, whose expression was becoming more and more serious. She shot a meaningful glance at the beast deity and said, Father, how can you make things difficult for your own daughter? The beast deity rubbed his fingers and said nonchalantly, stopping females from taking in new partners is a big taboo in the beast world. Aren't you afraid that the males from other females will follow suit? By then, all of them will be like them, using their powerful abilities to stop females from taking in new partners. According to the ratio of males to females in the beast world, you don't have to unify the beast world anymore. The beast world will probably be extinct very soon. Aside from the topic, it was the end of the month and the monthly tickets would expire if they were not used. On account of Susu's hard work this month, she would give the monthly tickets to Susu then. Susu would try her best to save up her draft so that she could give her babies another round of votes. Chapter 14:27. I don't think so. Gu Mengmeng smiled bitterly. The beast deity waved his hand and Gu Mengmeng went to his side obediently. The beast deity pulled Gu Mengmeng to sit on the two-seater bench and asked, Do you know how many partners the previous messenger of the beast deity had? Gu Mengmeng thought for a moment and said, I heard there were over 100. It was said that her family was so big that it was like a tribe. The beast deity chuckled and said, 172. Gu Mengmeng shook her head in shock, dumbfounded and speechless. The beast deity continued, then guess, how many mating marks does she have on her body? Gu Mengmeng instinctively answered, 172. The beast deity knocked Gu Mingming's head with a smile and pointed at her collarbone, saying, 172 marks of this size. Can they fit on her body? Gu Mengmeng lowered her head to take a look and agreed with him, so she asked, then, the beast deity stretched out 4 fingers and said, only 4. Only 4. Gu Mengmeng was shocked. How should she put it? The education that modern people received was different. Gu Mengmeng felt extremely guilty for having 2 partners and always felt that she owed one and the other. So in front of Elvis and Leah, she always acted coquettishly and softly when she met with problems. She rarely had the domineering aura of the females in the beast world. And now, the reason why she said the word only was because the number given by the beast deity was too high. There were 172 partners, but only 4 of them had a mark. What kind of concept was this? The remaining 168 meant that they would be widows for the rest of their lives. The beast deity seemed to have seen through Gu Mingming's thoughts and said, the females in the beast world can have today's status in the family because of the foundation Wang Xiaoxin laid down. Males couldn't go against the wishes of females, and they couldn't stop females from taking in new partners. Even if they had status, they couldn't force females to mate. Females had absolute leadership in the entire family. If males wanted to have the opportunity to mate and reproduce, the only way was to treat females well. This has been passed down for thousands of years and that is why females have today's status. You and Wang Xiaoxin have the same status, so your family situation will directly affect the family structure of the entire beast world. But Gu Mengmeng was in a difficult position. She knew that she was in a position and had to plan for her own affairs, but 172 partners, that image was terrifying just thinking about it. Gu Mengmeng felt that with her brain cells, she might not even be able to remember the names of her partners. The beast deity shook his head and interrupted Gu Mingming's words. I'm not asking you to accept everything. Just be like Oriton and give him the title of guardian beast. Wait a minute. Gu Mengmeng was dumbfounded. Oratin is just someone who shares meals with me. He's not my man. The beast god chuckled. He is. What the heck? Gu Mingming's face was filled with fear. No. I didn't, that. Elvis tightened his grip on Gu Mingming's waist and said, he's our family's guardian beast. It's just that both of you have no intention of mating, so Leah and I didn't mention it. But other than you, everyone else, including Oratin, Leah and I, have already silently acknowledged his status as a member of the family. Ah. Gu Mengmeng felt as though she was struck by lightning. Chapter 14:28. Gu Mengmeng was stunned for a long while before she said, then wouldn't I be wasting Oratin's life? No, I won't let him eat here in the future. Elvis sighed and said, if you make this decision, it's equivalent to abandoning him. Although he did not mate with you, his status has already been recognized by the beast world. If you don't want him, no female will want him. Moreover, in his eyes, food is more important than females. So if you don't let him eat here, that's really wasting his life. I'll go. Gu Mengmeng squatted down with a dejected face and said, why do I feel like I'm defiling a lady? Elvis also squatted down and carried Gu Mengmeng up. He said, you might find it awkward to say we're guardian beasts. In other words, do you still remember what you said about favored concubines, dancers and followers? Oratin is probably like a retainer who sold himself into our family. We provide for his food and lodging, and he helps you bully others. Both parties are willing, no one is forcing the other, and it's not like you're defiling him. Moreover, if you want to defile males, I, the favored concubine and Leah, the dancer, are still waiting. How can he get his turn? Gu Mengmeng blinked her eyes and turned to look at the beast deity. She asked, so, Wang Xiaoxin's so-called 172 partners, most of them are hired thugs and not partners. There are only 4 real partners, right? The beast deity shook his head and said, Wang Xiaoxin only acknowledged whales as her partner. The remaining 3 can only be considered as lovers. Gu Mengmeng was speechless once again. She also had 2 partners. As long as she was not the only one, then it was the pot calling the kettle black. No one was better than the other. So she was not in a position to criticize or mock Wang Xiaoxin. But for Gu Mengmeng to learn from Wang Xiaoxin and have over 100 men by her side, even if they were not husband and wife, Gu Mengmeng would still feel awkward with the false title of Gu Mingming's man. Now that she thought about it, she did not know how to face Oratin. She had thought they were friends and it was just a matter of adding a pair of chopsticks during a meal. In the end, she ended up ruining his reputation as they ate. If she had any thoughts about Oratin, it was fine. At most, she would just go with the flow and let the conditions be right. But the problem was that she had no feelings for Oratin. To her, Oratin, he might as well have feelings for Leah. The beast deity cleared his throat and said, Gregory, has fallen for you. Even if you can't accept him like how you accepted Leah, you should be able to accept Oratin, right? Just give him a chance to stay by your side and take care of you. If you develop feelings for him in the future, you can accept him. If you can't, he can just be another fighter. There's nothing bad about that. Anyway, he can rely on himself and not only will he not be a burden, he can even help you enrich your dining table. Isn't it good to get some food for you that Elvis and Leah can't? Gu Mengmeng paused for 2 seconds before looking at the beast deity and blinking her eyes. Father, tell me the truth. Did you receive benefits from others? You've been acting weird today. You've been speaking up for Gregory and trying to get me to take him in. Is there? Ha. You're thinking too much. No, definitely not. The beast god turned his face away guiltily and looked to the side. Chapter 14:29. The beast deity rubbed his nose and said, "All right, I will speak the truth." The beast deity looked like he could not do anything to Gu Mengmeng and sighed, then said, "After you obtain the love of the sky, you will become the lord of the birds. The bird tribe will be guided by your bloodline to follow you. For thousands of years, the bird tribe has never left Moda Mountains, so they will definitely feel uneasy after leaving the mountains. So I think, if you allow Gregory to join your family, it will be a form of psychological support and security for the entire bird tribe. At least they will not feel too flustered and helpless. And Gregory can also use his status as the messenger's partner to coordinate the relationship between the birds and the land beasts. After all, among the land beasts, only the wolf tribe and fox tribe have beast kings. One of them is your partner, the other, will soon be replaced by your partner. If you become a family member with these two beast kings, many things will be easily resolved." Gu Mengmeng looked at the beast deity doubtfully and asked, "Is that really the case?" Gu Mengmeng dragged out her words, obviously not believing him. The beast deity cleared his throat and said, "Not entirely. There are some other reasons that I cannot tell you now, but you have to believe that I am your biological father and will not harm you." Gu Mingming's face was full of reluctance as she said, "I already feel bad for making use of the fact that Gregory likes me at Moda Mountains previously. Now, I still want to make use of the fact that he likes me even though I know I'm destined to let him down. Father, is it really alright for you to personally train your daughter into a scumbag?" The beast deity stiffened his neck and said, "Who said my daughter is a scumbag?" "Humph, have you never seen a beast deity angry before?" Gu Mengmeng shook her head and said, "I feel that there are many ways to balance the relationship between the two tribes. Marriage is not the only solution." The beast deity tugged at Gu Mingming's little hand and said, "But this is the most effective method. Firstly, the bird tribe will have a place of sustenance after leaving the mountains. Secondly, you have not taken in any new members for 4 years. There are already rumors in the beast world about Elvis and Lee's domineering ways. Many males have even started to imitate their style of doing things. Didn't you see it with your own eyes when winter ended last year? The fire fox in St. Nazir's Liana's family had already started to think about their first partner. This time you discovered it and beat him up in time, but what about next time? How many times would you be able to discover such thoughts? How many times could he stop it? When the atmosphere in the beast world changes, it would be impossible for you to turn the tide. I'm not saying that you have to mate with Gregory. Just treat it as a new servant. Can't you do that?" It wasn't that it was impossible to recruit servants, but the problem was, which family would recruit servants for life? Even if they sold themselves as slaves in ancient times, they could still marry a maid and start a family, right? But if these servants were to be recruited into the beast world, they would be labeled as Gumingmings and could only hang around her for the rest of their lives. Isn't this a scourge? The beast deity did not force her to make a decision immediately. He just patted the back of her hand and said, "Anyway, there's still some time before the dry season, there's no rush to decide now. Go back and discuss this with your fox, and ask Gregory for his opinion as well. What if he's willing to be your retainer for the rest of his life?" Chapter 1430. Okay, go ahead. The beast deity did not harp on Gregory's matter anymore. He had already analyzed the pros and cons for Gu Mengmeng. He could not forcefully interfere with the matters of the beast world. Gu Mengmeng said, "Cole wants to gather the 7 treasures and open the doors of time and space to transmigrate there to rule the earth." Gu Mengmeng rolled her eyes as she spoke. She truly felt that Cole was a patient with a Chinibu syndrome. Just talking about his ideals and goals made her feel like a retard. Taking a deep breath, he continued, "You said last time that even if the 7 treasures are gathered, the time gate will open here, right? This dream, without me leading the way, can Cole enter by himself?" The beast god hesitated for a moment before nodding. Gu Mengmeng sighed. She knew it would be like this. Because Snake had appeared here before, and he seemed to have arrived earlier than her. Gu Meng Meng held her forehead and said, "So if I want to stop him, I have to kill him before he gathers the 7 treasures." The beast deity shook his head. "Unless you want to give up on Qi Xian, you cannot kill him. If it's the bewitching spell, maybe I have other ways to undo it." The beast god replied, "It's not the bewitching spell. It's the soul of the forest." Gu Meng Meng frowned in confusion. The beast deity explained patiently, "The soul of the forest has a total of 2 leaves. One of them saved Qi Xuan's life, while the other allowed Cole to regrow a broken arm and tail. Both leaves had already spread out and were living together on the same branch. If Cole died now, the effect of the soul of the forest would also disappear. At that time, Qi Xian." Gu Meng Meng bit her lower lip. "What if I snatch the soul of the forest?" The beast deity shook his head and said, "When the second leaf bloomed, the soul of the forest had already grown its roots. Now, the roots are intertwined with Cole's heart. If you forcefully take it, Cole will definitely die. So I can't do anything to Cole now." Gu Mingming's shoulders drooped weakly as she collapsed into Elvis's arms. The beast deity lowered his gaze and said, "It's not that there's no way, but we have to take a gamble." Gu Meng Meng looked up at the beast deity, waiting for him to continue. The beast god said, "Gathering the 7 treasures can open the gate of time and space, but at the same time, it can also fulfill a wish." Gu Meng Meng rolled her eyes and said, "What you mean is, not only can I not stop Cole from gathering the 7 treasures, I should also help him gather them. Then when the 7 treasures are gathered, I will kill Cole and use my wish to exchange for Qi Xuan's life." The beast deity nodded, indicating that what Gu Meng Meng said was exactly what he was thinking. Gu Meng Meng nodded and said, "All right, father, then I will go back first. My mind is in a mess now, I need to go back and discuss it with Leah." "All right." The beast deity stood in the clouds, waving his sleeves as he watched Gu Meng Meng fall backwards. When she opened her eyes, Gu Meng Meng was stunned for a moment. The fox in front of her should be Leah, but why did he look different? Gu Meng Meng reached out her hand to touch Lee's face. Leah smiled and dodged it. He brought a cup of water over and supported Gu Meng Meng's waist to help her sit up. He brought the cup to her lips and said, "Drink some water first." Chapter 1431. Leah chuckled and allowed Gu Meng Meng to kiss his face until it was covered in water. He did not mind and just let Gu Meng Meng hang around his neck like a little monkey. He placed the cup at the side and held Gu Meng Meng's but with both hands to pull her into his arms. Then, he looked at Elvis and asked, "What did he say?" Elvis filled a large cup of water for himself and then repeated what the beast deity had said to Gu Meng Meng, including the information he saw about Gu Meng Meng's scumbag father in the dream realm. After he finished, Gu Meng Meng clearly saw Lee's face darken. His long and narrow eyes were filled with a storm and Gu Meng Meng could even see the green veins popping out on his forehead. The corners of his lips were pulled to one side and that was how he looked like when he was extremely angry. "Good, very good. Not only did they not take good care of you, they even abandoned you, despised you and used harsh words to ridicule you. They even dared to hit you." Every single word that Bailan said to Gu Meng Meng in the dream realm was like a sharp knife cutting into Leah and Elvis's hearts. Leah squeezed each word out from the gaps of his teeth. With every word, his eyes turned a shade redder and in the end, because of the unbearable pain in his chest, his expression became a little hideous. He hugged Gu Meng Meng tightly in his arms, as if he wanted to rub her into his body. His breathing was heavy and hot and he let out a deep and resonating voice from his chest. He whispered into Gu Meng Meng's ear, "You are the treasure in my heart, how could you be bullied by them like that?" Actually, when she saw that scene in the dream realm, Gu Meng Meng's heart ached for a moment but she quickly adjusted her emotions. After all, things had changed and she could pull herself away. But now that Leah said that, she suddenly felt a little sore in her nose. She looked up at Elvis, who was pursing his lips in self-reproach and forbearance, full of heartache. Gu Meng Meng suddenly let out a stream of tears. That feeling was like when you were alone and you had clenched your teeth to endure it, but when someone doted on you, all your grievances would be overflowing. These tears were not sad, but instead, there was a faint hint of happiness. Gu Meng Meng smiled and said, "It's all right, it's all in the past. I've already forgotten." Leah held Gu Meng Meng's shoulders and kissed away her tears. Then, he kissed her lips. His voice was trembling from heartache. "But, you cried." Gu Meng Meng shook her head and said, "It's not because I'm sad that I'm crying. I just suddenly felt very blessed that someone would feel sorry for me when I was wronged. Actually, compared to you and Elvis, my childhood was really nothing. Some people say that there is a limit to how much luck a person can have in a lifetime. I suffered a little when I was young, probably because I wanted to save up luck to meet you guys. I think it's quite worth it. If I were to choose again, I would still choose to be abandoned by them when I was young and then transmigrate to the beast world to meet you guys." Leah shook his head and said in a low voice, "No, I would rather we suffer 10 times or 100 times more pain in exchange for your blissful past. I don't want you to suffer, not even a little bit." Pausing for a moment, Leah said faintly, "Meng Meng, I have something to discuss with you." "Huh?" Gu Meng Meng tilted her head to look at Leah. Chapter 1432. Go over. Gu Meng Meng was taken aback. "Go over for what? Do you want to rule the earth too?" Leah shook his head. "I have no interest in ruling the earth, but my woman was bullied. I cannot tolerate this. This enmity, I must definitely take revenge. Personally." Gu Meng Meng had wanted to say that Snake had already taken care of them and helped prevent her anger, so there was no need to mention it again. But Lee's last 3 words made Gu Meng Meng choke back her words. Her man was protecting her. This feeling was quite good. Gu Meng Meng also wanted to agree readily and say, "All right, let's go back and look for them. I will take revenge for that slap with interest." But the truth was, Gu Meng Meng shook her head. "There are too many uncertainties in the doors of time and space. It was an accident that I transmigrated here. I am not sure if we can return after entering. There are my important friends, adorable children and close family members here. I am not willing to risk losing people who love me, and I love them for the sake of 2 people who had hurt me. I don't think it's worth it." Leo lowered his head and thought for a moment. "Then make a wish for them to come to the beast world." "I only have one wish. I want to use it to save Qi Xian," Gu Meng Meng said carefully. She knew that Leah could not tolerate her suffering. But honestly, her scumbag father and mistress were not as important as her son. Leah took a deep breath. "If I can think of a way to save Qi Xian before gathering the 7 treasures, then give me that wish. I will use it to summon them here to take revenge for you." "All right." Gu Meng Meng nodded in agreement. Leah and Elvis exchanged glances. This matter was finally over. Leo looked outside the window and asked, "Meng Meng, do you hate that Gregory?" Gu Meng Meng thought about it. "I don't hate him, but I don't like him either. Towards him, I don't have any feelings." Leah thought for a moment. Actually, the beast deity is right. As the messenger of the beast deity, you have the responsibility to maintain the balance in the beast world. Actually, before you came, Elvis's and my plan was to not allow any new males to join the family within a year and strive to make you pregnant with Elvis's cubs within a year to solidify his status as the first partner. However, there were many unexpected changes in the process. For example, you were pregnant with Hedda and his brothers in the first winter, and the way you gave birth scared us, and, These 4 years passed in the blink of an eye, but our family did not have any new members. Gu Meng Meng interrupted Li's words. But I don't want a new partner. I think you and Elvis are enough for me. These words warmed Li's heart. Even if this was an impractical lie in the beast world, Leah still enjoyed it. Leah did not pursue the truth and only asked Gu Meng Meng, if Snake could live again, would you still reject him? Gu Meng Meng thought for a while and shook her head. She lowered her head and said, if he can come back to life. I can't pretend that I don't know anything in front of him, and I can't reject him a second time. If it was him, I might have accepted it. Even though I was so afraid of snakes, now that I think about it, I don't seem to be afraid of him anymore. Chapter 1433. Gu Meng Meng did not understand. Wasn't he talking about Gregory? Why was it suddenly related to Snake again? Was there any difference between the guardian mark and the mating mark to Snake now? It was as if she admitted that he was her deceased husband and placed a memorial tablet in the ancestral hall, would he come back to life? Leah seemed to have seen through Gu Meng Meng's doubts and answered her directly, that way, you and Elvis mated in the first year and gave birth to Heda and his brothers. In the second year, you took me in as a beast pet and Oritin joined the family as a guardian beast. In the third year, you mated with Snake and I was promoted from a beast pet to your third partner. Gu Meng Meng face-bombed and said, so you mean I have not stopped every year, right? Leo lowered his head and chuckled, saying, you can say that. Although there is only one more member every year and this number is too little compared to normal families in the beast world, but at least there are new people joining every year and it is still acceptable. Gu Meng Meng sighed and said, so this year is the 4th year and Gregory joined my family, right? Leah nodded and said, I will not give him the chance to flirt in front of you. I am the only male who climbed into your bed from a beast pet. So, he will stay in our family as a guardian beast and will not stay with us normally. Just like Oritin, he will come over to share a meal with us during mealtimes. Just treat it as adding a pair of chopsticks to the dining table and you don't have to care about him, alright? Don't. Gu Meng Meng had a look of resistance and said, one Oritin is already giving me a headache and I don't even know how to deal with him. Why do I feel like I am harming others by bringing Gregory back? Elvis and I are still free. Even if you want to harm others, it will not be him. Leah said it casually but Gu Meng Meng lowered her head and smiled, saying, what a coincidence, Elvis also said the same thing in the dream realm. Elvis and Leah exchanged glances and then smiled, saying, this is tacit understanding. Just based on our tacit understanding, unless you are willing, no one will be able to compete with us. Gu Meng Meng was unwilling and lowered her head, saying, is there no other way? Our family of 3 is living a good life, but you have to shove an outsider in. I feel uncomfortable. Leah kissed Gu Meng Meng and said, don't worry, be it Gregory or Oritin, unless you want them, they don't even have the right to enter your cave. It's just a title. It doesn't have any substance. Gu Meng Meng said, but once this name is hung up, their entire lives will be over. Dad said that with my mark on them, no female will want them anymore. Leah chuckled. Why? Do you think someone will want them just because they don't put your label on them? Let's talk about Oritin first. Indeed, those tribe beauties used to confess to him frequently, but when you saw him, wasn't he still single? Ask him if he's willing to mate with another female and give up our family's food. Gu Meng Meng was speechless. There was no need to ask. In Oritin's eyes, the only thing more important than a meal cooked by Leah was Gu Meng Meng. Yes, Oritin said it himself, Gu Meng Meng was worth 3 days of food. Chapter 1434. Gu Meng Meng, do you remember the days when you wanted to break up with me? Leah asked. Gu Meng Meng nodded. That period of time was too torturous and she naturally remembered it clearly. Leah continued, "Do you know what was the most painful thing for me during that period of time?" Gu Meng Meng shook her head. "Leah, the most painful thing for me was not seeing you and Elvis being so lovey-dovey with each other, collecting salt, digging potatoes and sweet potatoes, or even listening to your mating at the entrance of the cave. It was the days when you hid in the cave and didn't step out at all. I didn't know if you were crying, didn't know if you had eaten, didn't know if you were well, didn't know if you were still alive, didn't know if you were still in Saint Nazaire or even in the beast world. My guess is without any knowledge almost drove me crazy. I prayed to the gods not for you to forgive me, but for me to look at you from afar, to know that you are still alive, to know that you still exist, to know that you are still well. That is enough. As long as I take a look from afar, even if I can only see your silhouette and not hear your voice, it is all right. Just one look and I can get through that day. Even if the sweetness between you and Elvis made me feel as if thousands of arrows were stabbing into my heart, I would gladly endure that pain." Gu Meng Meng bit her lower lip and hugged Li's neck. She bit his shoulder and grumbled, "Who asked you to be so pretentious? You had to pretend to fall in love with someone else with Nina, causing me to be sad and hurt my body. Now you are acting pitiful." "Humph." Leah smiled bitterly and said, "I know it was all my fault, so the pain I suffered then was all punishment. After that, in order to beg for your forgiveness, I deserved to be tortured by you. I didn't dare to complain or be dissatisfied. I am already grateful that you could forgive me in the end." Gu Meng Meng chuckled and said, "All right, we are talking about them, why are we talking about these past events again?" Leah kissed the mark on Gu Meng Meng's left ear and said, "I am talking about them." "Mm." Gu Meng Meng replied with a single syllable to express her inquiry. Leah said, "How different can Gregory's current state be from mine back then? He didn't have the right to stay, but he couldn't bear to leave. His situation was worse than mine. At least at that time, I knew that you liked me, and I still had a chance to redeem myself. As for him, he has never even seen you like him. If he returns to Moda Mountains like this, how miserable will his life be? I don't think so, then maybe he will meet a female he likes in the future and start a new life happily." Gu Meng Meng said. Chapter 1435. Gu Meng Meng hesitated for a moment before shaking her head. She did not say it out loud, but based on her gut feeling, she truly felt that Gregory, who looked like he was abstinent, was the type of person with a solid heart. Frustrated, Gu Meng Meng pinched Li's face and grumbled, "It's all your fault. Why did you set him up to like me?" Leah allowed Gu Meng Meng to behave wildly in his arms. Seeing her frustrated made him feel better. If she happily accepted Gregory, he would feel terrible again. Sometimes, Leah also felt that he was a fool. He was the one who arranged for Gregory to get close to Gu Meng Meng, but Gregory followed his plan and fell in love with Gu Meng Meng. He was also the one who felt disgusted. He was the one who wanted Gu Meng Meng to accept Gregory as a family member. But if Gu Meng Meng accepted him, he would be the one who would be frustrated. Leah was almost driven crazy by himself as his rationality and emotions were being torn apart every day. "Yeah, it's all my fault." Leah held Gu Meng Meng's little fist and kissed it. "It's all my fault for making things difficult for my precious Gu Meng Meng." Gu Meng Meng retracted her hand and shook her head. "Let's not tell Gregory about this first. I still need to think about it. If there's any other way, let's not hold him up like this." Leah nodded. "The beast deity's words are just a suggestion to you. But to the others in the beast world, it's a divine decree. Therefore, the matter of our family recruiting new people must be put on the agenda. If you don't want it to be Gregory, then why don't you transfer Berg back, or Berit?" Gu Meng Meng waved her hands. "We'll talk about it later. Let me think about it." "All right." Actually, Leah hoped that no one would join. But since the beast deity had spoken, this matter had to be carried out. Leah handed Gu Meng Meng over to Elvis before heading out to prepare the meal. Before the meat was out of the pot, Oriton had already smelled the aroma and ran over. He circled the stove and followed closely behind Leah like a little tail, afraid that he would miss mealtime. Lee's cooking was a sign that Gu Meng Meng was awake. Wabi-I entered the stone castle openly while Gregory stood at the entrance. He did not have the right to enter, so he could only stand at the entrance and look in. He wanted to see if this person who had slept for more than 4 days had really woken up. Unfortunately, Gu Mingming's bedroom was on the 2nd floor. Even with his X-ray vision, he could not see her. But even so, he could not tear his eyes away from the main door of the stone castle. All he could hope for was to see her a second earlier. Wabi-I went up to the 2nd floor and directly kicked the door open. He grinned at Gu Meng Meng. "How is it?" Gu Meng Meng felt vexed and her expression did not look too good. She just shook her head, indicating that there was still no news about sending Wabi-I to meet Snake. Wabi-I didn't know what Gu Meng Meng was upset about. Seeing her expression, he asked worriedly, "What's wrong? Did something happen to Snake?" Gu Meng Meng was taken aback, then she shook her head and said, "No, Snake is fine. It's my father who can't bear to see me living so leisurely, so he gave me some trouble." Gu Meng Meng told him about how the beast deity had asked her to accept Gregory. But Wabi-I just laughed coldly and said, "I thought it was something serious. Isn't it just accepting a birdman? What are you so conflicted about? So be it if you accept it. When the time comes, you can keep him if you like him. If you don't, can't you still eat him? Isn't it good to have more fresh-keeping rations during winter?" Gu Meng Meng rolled her eyes at Wabi-I and said, "I should have just thrown you into the modern world to pair up with Bailan." Aside from the topic, today was the last day of April. Babies, the monthly tickets will really expire tomorrow, so give them to Susu. Alright, you're tuning in to the Journey of the Soul YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.